Hello guys, welcome to a new video, and in this new video we are going to go over section 5. We are almost done, guys. We have two more sections and we are at the end of section 5. Yoo-hoo! So we are going to go over section 5.4, which is implement zone-based firewall. So we are going to talk about zone to zone and the self zone, and which also we need to talk about implementing that ZBF. So let's go ahead and start with this nice PowerPoint that I put up for you guys. So implement zone-based firewall. And when you implement zone-based firewall, this is for a Cisco router. So with ZBF, you can configure a router to become an actual firewall. If you guys are a small business, you can get away by having just the router taking care of the uh, taking taking care of what a firewall will do, so you could save a lot of money by doing that. Um, so what you could do is you could configure ZBF, um, and with ZBF, interfaces are placed into zones, and zones are created by the network admin. And using any naming convention, if you guys have seen my videos, you see that from the firewall, I have seen the naming convention of inside, outside, or internet, and also DMZ, which are quite common. Then after that, you have to apply the policies as to what transit traffic is allowed to be initiated. For example, from users on the inside destined to resources on the outside, and what action the firewall should take, such as inspection. And when you do an inspection, when you configure in ZBF or zone-based firewall, means that to do a stateful inspection of the traffic. And what happens is when you pick or choose inspection, after the traffic is inspected, the reply traffic is allowed back through the firewall because of the stateful filtering feature. So when you configure ZBFs either on a firewall or on a router, um, it puts the firewall or the router into a stateful filtering. So it's going to become a stateful firewall. If you guys remember from my other videos where I talked about the difference between the stateful and stateless. Stateless is just using access list, which you have to allow the traffic coming in and also going out of the zones, unless the zone has a higher security than the one going out. But if the traffic is coming from a zone which has a lower secure level, then where the traffic is going, then it's not going to be allowed, and then you have to create an access list for that. But when you have a stateful filtering, filtering, whenever any zone goes out, it will come back in because the inside network initiated that connection. And when the inside initiates the connection, then everything is allowed back in, and you don't need to configure anything or any access rule to come back in. So as you can see, the policies are implemented in a single direction. For example, inside to outside, right? And this is how you configure the ZBF. You have to have a class maps, and these are used to identify traffic, such as traffic that should be inspected, traffic that can be matched based on layer 3 through layer 7 of the OSI model, including application-based matching. Class maps can also refer to access control lists for the purpose of identifying traffic or even call upon other class maps. So when you are configuring class maps, this is where you inspect or want to allow that traffic from either from layer 3, you can put in an IP address, or from the other layers, you can allow just UDP, or if you go higher up, you can allow like HTTP, um, FTP, DNS, and all that traffic. And then after you create the class maps, what you're going to do is you're going to create a policy maps, and these are the actions that should be taken on the traffic. Policy maps call on the class maps. So when you configure the policy maps, you're going to call the class map that you have configured. and this is for the classification of the traffic. And policy maps with multiple sections are processed in order, just like access rules or ACLs. And then after that, you configure service policies, and this is where you apply the policies identified from a policy map, configure over here, to a zone pair. This step actually implements the policy. And this is how the policy map actions that you could configure. We have the inspect, which permits and statefully inspect the traffic. And when you should use this, well, you should use this on traffic initiated by users who expect to get replies from devices on the other side of the firewall. You could also do pass, which is permit or allow the traffic, but do not create an entry in the stateful database. So this is like stateless. And when to use it, traffic that does not need a reply. Also, in the case of protocols that do not support inspection, this policy could be applied to the zone pair specific outbound traffic and be applied to a second zone pair for inbound traffic. And you, you also have another policy action, which is wrap. And as you can see, it just denies the packets. And traffic you do not want to allow between zones where these policies apply. And you can also log, and what it does is just log the packets. If you want to see the log information about packets that were dropped because of policy, you can add this option. And now we have the traffic interaction between zones. Ingress is when the ingress is when it's coming in, egress is when it's going out. So if the ingress interface is member of a zone, if it's not member of a zone, and if the egress is not member of a zone, and if the zone pairs, if you do not have a zone pair policy, or it doesn't matter, the traffic is going to be forward anyways. Even if you have one or if you do not have one, it's still going to be forward. If you don't have an ingress, but if you have an egress um, zone and the policy does not matter, the traffic is going to be dropped no matter what. If you have a policy or if you do not have a policy, if you have an ingress interface zone, zone A, and for egress is zone A as well, the policy does not matter. It's going to forward. If you have zone A and zone B for the ingress and egress, so they're on different zones. If you do not apply any policies, the traffic is going to be dropped. So you need to apply a policy for this to work. And if you have zone A and zone B and you apply a policy, then the policy is applied. If the policy inspector passed, the initial traffic is forward. If the policy is dropped, then it's going to drop the traffic. And now we're going to talk about the self zone and traffic directed to the router itself, as opposed to traffic going through the router has transit traffic that is not destined directly to the router, involves the self zone. So anything that goes to the router or the firewall, so if you ping in the firewall or the router, is going to involve this self zone. And traffic destined to the router, regardless of which interface is used, is considered to be going to the self zone. Traffic being sourced from the router is considered to be coming from the self zone. And by default, all traffic to the self zone or from the self zone, which is really means all traffic from the router or to the router, it's allowed. However, if you want to create policy related to traffic to or from this self zone, you do it the same way by creating self zone pairs and assigning a policy to the zone pair. And here's how it works. If you have the source of the traffic is the self zone, and if it's destined to zone A and there's no policy applied, the traffic is passed. If it's coming from zone A to the south, there's no policy applied, then the traffic is also going to be passed. If it's going from the self zone to the zone A, but there is a policy, then the policy is applied in zone A to self, and if there's a policy, then the policy is going to be applied. And this is it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little bit boring because I did not do any configurations, but on the next probably 2 or 3 videos, we are going to just configure ZBFs. We are going to do it from a router, and then we're going to do it from the firewall command line, and then from the firewall um, ASDM or the GUI that we're going to use. And so thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys enjoyed this video, Of course, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at CCNA Daily Tips, where I post all my videos and also a lot of questions every day, almost daily. I have questions on my um, Twitter account for the CCNA, CCNP, and CCNA security. And this is it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I love you. Bye bye.